All right, so you've just finished collecting all of the data that you need for our heat capacity, kind of design your own experiment. What we're going to do here in this video is kind of walk you through the next steps. Remember, this is extremely good practice for the assessment for this unit. So you've got 10 minutes of heating data, 10 minutes of cooling data for our three solutions. The next step is to visualize that in a graph. And I think what's going to be important is that you really think carefully about what kind of graph is going to fit your data the best. Is it some sort of bar or column graph, a scatter plot, a line graph? That choice is yours, but there are some choices that fit a little bit better than others. One of these graphs is going to be for heating. I'd say just have the first one be for heating. Make sure you've got a nice title there. It's going to ask you to title your X and Y axis like always. My little hint here, though, is just to make sure that you have units for both labels, right? So, we had time. What did you measure that in? We had temperature. Again, what did you measure that in? Make sure your key is clear and labeled for all three substances. Choose a different symbol or a different color or something to clearly indicate we've got, three things going on here. Okay. Make sure the intervals are appropriate. We've talked about that this year. Try not to make things look how they shouldn't be, right? Make sure the graph is true to what the data was showing you. So that is the first graph. Second one is cooling. The same hints and tips apply to the cooling graph. Once you have those visuals done, you can move to the conclusion and evaluation type questions. Question number 5 is just a very simple copy-paste our question from page 1. It was something to the effect of how does the heat capacity of water compare to other substances? So again, just go back, copy and paste that, and that's going to help with the CER, which is next. We haven't done a CER in a while, so I just wanted to make sure we kind of go back to the core of what that's about, and we're doing what we're supposed to in each letter. So you're going to make a claim about that original question, which was, again, how does the heat capacity of water compare to other substances? So my hint to you is just remember this is a one-sentence statement. You're not really explaining anything whatsoever. So, something to the effect of the heat capacity of water is or compares to isopropyl alcohol and corn oil this way or that way. Again, make sure you're clear. Make sure your claim shows the relationship that you see up in that data, but there's no need to explain anything in that claim. Okay, it's kind of like your thesis statement. And then from there, we're going to get into the evidence section, and I broke it down. I'd like you to talk through evidence from adding heat and then also from removing it. I think for question number 7, it's very easy to just have, maybe 3 bullet points for each heating and 3 for cooling, 1 for each substance. So just give some really critical data to show what happened during your experiment while the 3 substances were heating. Maybe it's a total change in heat from beginning to end. You get to choose what data you'd like to use, but I think at least 3 bullet points for adding heat, 3 more bullet points for losing heat. And then again, very critical that you don't need to explain anything. You're just providing that evidence from your investigation. Okay, and then from there, the reasoning is where you explain, where you tie together what your claim was with your evidence and that scientific background information, which is going to show up in the first paragraph on page 1. Okay, it does a really good job of just kind of giving you what specific heat capacity is, so that you can, help support your comparison of water to other substances. I don't think it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a quick Google search of what the heat capacity of the three substances are, because you're not going to have that number from your investigation. But it'll give you a sense of, did you do your investigation well, to show the relationship that actually exists between those three substances. The rest of this is really for you to kind of reflect on your ability to create a good experiment to be able to compare the heat capacity. So for question number 9, we're focusing in on your different variables and your controls. And essentially what you have to do is prove your decisions were good decisions for each of those different categories, right? So thinking about your independent, dependent variables, you might have had more than one. Your controls, you should have had more than one. In that space, I'd like you to walk me through your choice and why it was right. So my sentence starter there is my independent variable was, you fill in the blank. This was chosen correctly because, and then you need to justify that you chose correctly your different variables and controls. Question number 10 is asking you to reflect on your procedure, how you wrote it, and make adjustments so that the next time that you would do this, or if you could give this to somebody else to do, they would know what to do, and then maybe, if there were issues with your procedure, do it a little bit better. So any additions that you'd like to add to your procedure, do that in green, and then highlight any text or turn the text red if you'd like to remove it. You're not going to have enough space to do it here, so make sure that you do it below these questions. And then the last question here is to prove or disprove, using evidence from your experiment, the success of your design. So, from the procedure to thinking about your variables and controls, were you able to compare accurately and scientifically correctly the heat capacity of water to other substances? That was our goal, to be able to do that. So all I'd like you to do is prove or disprove. Maybe you want to say that your procedure was good. It was able to produce reliable results, but maybe you chose your variables incorrectly. So there are different aspects that you can agree with or disagree with. You don't have to do the whole thing. But I want you to reflect on and explain in detail your reasoning for your choices of agreeing or disagreeing, and then use those numbers. And I think that's where maybe that quick Google search of the heat capacity of these three substances is going to be helpful. So I think that is all you need. Okay, this is going to be due tonight at 11:59 p.m. If you run into problems or have questions, send me a Schoology message. All right, thank you.